The case against Leslie Merritt Jr. has been dismissed. Let's make it open and transparent to the public. Now, Judge Granville understandably didn't want a potential jury pool tainted by the release of various discovery information, police reports, expert reports that were appended to court filings. But the case is now over. This should be open for public inspection. That's how the American justice system works. This is not the Soviet Union behind the Iron Curtain with Pravda. There are no secrets from the citizens of Arizona.
Do you think the public has a lot to gain from what could possibly come out from this, from what happened behind closed doors?
Well, the public should always have a right to know what's going on in the court system unless there's some imminent danger of contamination of the process, that is, the inability of the parties to get a fair trial. But once again, the case is over. So the public could understand the inner workings of the case, what led to the arrest of Leslie Merritt as the alleged I-10 freeway shooter, and really what caused the charges to be dismissed, specifically that there was no evidence to support the charge really from the beginning, at least in our opinion.
Do you think that this would go to some degree and as to clear Leslie Merritt Jr.'s name fully?
Leslie wants nothing more than for the truth to come out. From the time he was in front of the initial appearance judge to the time that he walked out of the jail, he's always said that he wasn't the I-10 freeway shooter, and he was telling the truth. And this will go one additional step to clear his name and to prove to everyone that he is not the I-10 freeway shooter, he never was, and he never will be.
Do you think there's going to be hesitation to keep things sealed? Prosecutors have led us to believe that perhaps this is not over, or that there could still charges be filed at a later date. Do you think there's hesitation here to unseal these documents?
These are public documents. They should be made available to the public. Nothing that is in these documents will change an investigation going forward, assuming there is one. However, we are extremely confident in our client's innocence. Nothing is going to change. He has never been the I-10 shooter. He is not the I-10 shooter, and he will never be the I-10 shooter because he didn't commit any of these crimes. So it's not going to change anything or affect anything going forward if these documents are released. The only hesitation is keeping the public in the dark.
You've seen a lot more than we have. Are you concerned, or should we be concerned that there's still someone out there that is the trigger man behind these, and yet we are no closer today than we were 6 or 7 months ago to having someone who may have really, truly pulled the trigger and put people's lives in risk?
Our concern has always been that the arrest of Leslie Merritt Jr. was a rush to judgment and an attempt to quench the public's thirst for blood, because there was hysteria going on in Phoenix. The reality is the real shooter remains out there, and that's a great concern to all of us. Whether or not these documents are released, we've got a lot of concern because there's a lot of investigations, because there's a lot of questions in other investigations that have gone unanswered, and the public should be just as concerned now as it was prior to Leslie's arrest.
Without getting too far into specifics, I know that these are sealed documents, but are we talking pages and pages and pages of documents? Are we talking videos? Are we talking, I don't know, you kind of fill in the blank. What would this look like if they unsealed these documents?
If these documents were unsealed, I think the public would have a better understanding of the evidence that the defense uncovered, not prosecutors, and the work that the defense did, not DPS, to show that Leslie Merritt Jr. was never the I-10 freeway shooter. We went to lengths and depths in a very reasonable fashion to uncover facts and information that prove Mr. Merritt's innocence. That's probably what's most important to him, Leslie Merritt Jr., that the public knows about, because again, he really just wants his name fully cleared once and for all.
Back when we were covering this day in and day out, day after day, newscast after newscast, there was immense pressure from the public. There was immense pressure. I can't imagine what it was at DPS. Do you think that there was immense pressure from the top down, including the governor, to say, we need to get this out of the news. We need to get someone behind bars, and that just happened to be Leslie Merritt Jr.?
Why this happened, we really don't know. There's a pending and potential civil case that these are facts that could be explored. At this point, what we're most focused on is the fact that all charges against our client were dismissed. That was the right thing, but the reality is he never should have been charged in the first place. The whys, that's something to be determined at a later date, and those are questions that DPS and the county attorney should be held to answer.
And while I have you here, can we talk about the case where that is?
Too early.
Like that?
We filed a notice of claim, which is a precursor to the filing of a lawsuit against an Arizona governmental entity. There is a statutory time in which to respond. That time has not yet lapsed. Once it does, we'll explore all options, including whether or not the filing of a formal lawsuit is appropriate. But it's very early on in the game, and a lot can happen between now and then.
The governor's part in all this, his infamous tweet that everyone's talking about, does that play in a role at all in this pleading or this motion or this?
Completely irrelevant.
Totally irrelevant.
It's irrelevant.
Trying to think of what else I wanted to ask you. Leslie Merritt Jr., how has his life changed, or how has it gotten back to quote unquote normal since this whole thing kind of resolved?
I've spent a lot of time with Leslie. I talk to him on a regular basis, and I'll tell you, it's tough. When you're locked in solitary confinement in a box at least 23 hours a day by yourself, there's not really an acclimation right back to normal. He's going to need some help. There's been a lot of changes, and the scrutiny that he continues to be under, even though his name has been cleared by the dismissal somewhat, he's still feeling a lot of pressure, and there's some difficulty transitioning and acclimating back into the world. But it's a very slow process, and one in which we continue to support him.
Has he received any job offers, or has he returned back to work?
The community has been very gracious in continuing to support Leslie. He's received a number of job offers, and fortunately, he's getting back to what he wants to do, which is working and being with his family.
Danny, did I miss anything? Did you want to give us your thoughts because you've been at the forefront of this? Too soon. At least when you were tweeting out this information on Friday and then on Monday, can you just give us your honest reaction? You must have been yourself elated. I don't know, necessarily surprised by it.
Of course, we were happy for our client. We're happy that justice was being done, but that justice should have been served a long time ago, and we believe that he never should have been charged in the first place.